bit about, as people are having children or people are growing families, a lot of people, that's why they start buying houses in a market like this. A lot of people need a reason to make a move because, well, if you can't find a house to buy, it's hard. And if you're trying to sell your house, you may not be able to find another one to move into. When people start to figure out their reasons for buying a house, that's really it really is going to drive their motivation.
Yeah.
And negotiating to buy a house or sell a house has a lot to do with motivation. Talk to me a little bit about how you participate in negotiating with buyers and sellers and maybe getting somebody to, accept a deal.
Yeah, so, there's so many different parties involved in this transaction and everything from taking the listing, negotiating with the sellers on the price. You can look at similar comps in the area that have sold. The market's gaining momentum, like we were talking about earlier, and appreciating. So we got to make sure that we price it right. Like the home next door that sold, we might be able to jump up just a little bit and kind of catch the market where it's going. But that's a negotiating, statement right there in itself, getting together with the sellers and deciding on that price.
Mm-hmm. And so how do you do it?
Well, we put together the market analysis, and then we kind of go over similar comps, and it's, you can't really pinpoint an exact price that a buyer's going to pay. They're going to have to feel that it's the best price out there, and that's when they're going to make an offer on it. So with the sellers, I like to just sit down, show them the comps in the last 3 months, and then if there's not a lot, we'll jump back 6 months and go through the photos of what's sold and the area and just kind of have a conversation with them. Okay, so we know this one's worth a little bit more because of the upgrades, the lot size, and the square footage of the home. We know this one's a little bit less. Do you think your home should be here, there, and then kind of work together to come on that price?
Yeah. So I guess when you're negotiating with a seller, it's tough because obviously the buyer wants to spend the least, the seller wants the most, and the real estate agents in some ways are like, let's come to an amicable price, right? Yeah. What becomes the toughest part, with negotiating with sellers? Because it's their home. It's tough to maybe get the emotion out of it.
Yeah, trying to figure out the way to get out of the emotion is really tough. So you got to say, hey, let's put our business hats on. Let's put our buyer hats on and pretend we're the buyers. If you're looking for homes, here's the competition out there. Here's what's active. Would this be the number one home to jump in and make an offer on? So with them, everyone thinks their home's worth more than the home next door, right? So you got to sit down, and sometimes you can take a listing a little higher and say, hey, if we're not getting any showings or any activity, any offers in within 2 weeks, let's go ahead and drop the price to here. So I always like to do that, give them an idea. This is where I think the home's going to sell. If you want to list it 1-2% higher, we can go ahead and do that. But after 2 weeks, if there's no offers or no showings, we're going to jump down to here.
Mm-hmm. And so you start to give people a path by which they should follow, not just, hey, this is our hard number.
Right. Yeah, that doesn't really work very well with some people because it's tough on these presentations because you're meeting the people for the first time. You're trying to build some rapport. You're going over your marketing. Here's why you want to work with Windermere. Here's why you want to work with Tyler. And here's, the pricing.
Just talk about yourself in third person, huh?
Yeah. Sorry about that.
I love it.
Here's why you want to work with me.
I love it.
But so for them, once they hear that price or before they hear that price, all they're thinking is price. How much is this home going to go for? So with them, if you can answer that objective by letting them be part of the decision-making process, that really, really helps out.
Well, but there's also some truth that Tyler or Windermere doesn't actually determine what a buyer is going to pay. The
Correct.
buyer determines what the buyer is going to pay. There must be some difficulty in maybe realizing that because if you go to, Nordstrom's and there's a price, that's just what the price is.
Right.
Houses are certainly different. Most people realize you can negotiate. But as a seller, you're just setting a point. You're just kind of picking a starting negotiating point, aren't you?
It's an educated guess on what's recently sold. I was talking to John early before we got in the studio. His neighbor's home just sold for $40,000 over asking price, and we're seeing multiple offers like we've been talking about for the last 18 months. And so we need to get it in there similar, and then without the extra inventory, the competition's there's a good chance that it's going to get bid up if it's in these hot areas.
Yeah. Well, what about these hot areas often have picky buyers going into them? How do you end up helping a picky buyer negotiate a house? Because sometimes it might be, I'm picky.
Yeah.
And I found the perfect home and I really want it versus maybe overspending. How do you mitigate all that?
We'll kind of try to go by the 85% rule. So when you're searching for homes out there, there's not a ton of inventory. And what I mean by the 85% rule is we're never going to find that.
A solid B.
Yeah. A good, strong B. That's what we're looking for. No A pluses here.
It must be a Coug.
Yeah. Ouch, that one hurt. So just get an idea of, you're not going to find the perfect house. I mean, you can build the perfect house, but you're going to pay the perfect price to the builder on that. So find the home that's in your price range, that's in the area that you want to be, and then you can turn it into that 100% home. The whole reason I wanted to do this negotiations talk here on the radio this morning is just lost a huge deal out in Bellevue last week, and it was all over the negotiating. So we had 4 sets of counters going back and forth on some new construction and ended up losing it over a hot tub installation. So if you really want the house and it's got, that was their 99% house. And the only thing is they really wanted this big hot tub put in there. And so you've got to put your business hat on and take the emotions aside and kind of move forth on, realizing what the best deal is.
Were they disappointed?
Yeah, they were disappointed. And,
would they have installed their own hot tub looking back?
I don't think they would. It was very interesting. Everyone kind of has their boiling tipping point, and I think that's what it was. They wanted this hot tub here. That's what they envisioned this, $1 million home having. So looks like when we go out and search next, I got to find something with a nice hot tub.
No kidding, or at least have one installed.
Yeah.
Tyler Freed joins us, branch manager with Windermere Real Estate in Lake Tapps. We just have about a minute left. When you go through that, and you personally as a real estate professional see somebody trying to negotiate over something that you may view as small as a hot tub installation, right, when 99% of the house is correct or right. We're not talking a solid B. We're like A+ range.
Yeah.
How do you help, or how can you, or how can somebody maybe see past that last 1%?
It's a good question. You got to take it back to, here's what we've seen. We've looked at 15 homes. This home was the only home that you decided to make an offer on, so we know that it's above the rest. It's the best deal out there from what we've seen, and you can qualify for it. And these buyers had a punch list, and there was, a good 25 things on there, and it was hitting 24 out of 25. So it's a challenge, but I always, it's kind of sad to say, but sometimes a buyer needs to miss out on a good home, because then they get the sense of urgency. Okay, I can't be 100% in control of this. I've got to have a little give back and forth. And that's the key to all these negotiations is you got to find a win-win for both parties. And once you can find that, everybody's happy. And